Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 869, I'm back and Gary's here, and we've got a few things to catch up on. Windows 11 22 H2 or Windows 11 2022 update, as it's officially known as released, and we'll talk about that, how you can get it and what's included. Talking about some new devices that we've got, some things that Gary's got, some things that I've got. We're talking about Surface Laptop Go 2, new laptop setups, all sorts of stuff. So let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
And it's good to be back, but I've got to say, I enjoyed being a listener last week.
I enjoyed being the host of last week. Just listening to Richard talk about space stuff. He ought to do a podcast on that on its own, because he's just so good at that.
Yeah. It was very enjoyable, and it's good to talk about the space stuff. Really enjoyed that. In fact, it's a shame Richard's not here tonight, because I actually wasn't last. Yeah, it wasn't last week. It was last Thursday. Last Thursday, I think it would have been almost 2 weeks ago. I saw some space debris.
Wow.
Something I've never seen. So I was sitting in it was 10 o'clock at night, and I was sitting in my front room watching TV, and my window faced west, and I get quite a clear view, fairly high up, so I can see, out on a clear day. I can see out. You can see out to the sea from where I am, even though I'm 30 miles from the coast or whatever. Anyway, I was sitting there. I thought, what the hell's that? And it looked like a meteor just arced across the sky. My wife saw it as well, but I thought that's a bit unusual, because first of all, at first I thought it was maybe like a Chinese lanterns, but
yeah,
they usually go up, not down, and if they do come down, they come straight down. This had the proper arc going across the sky. I said, "Did you see that?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that." I thought it must have been a meteor, so I did this quick search on Twitter for meteor and found loads of people reporting them all at the same time. But most people seem to be in the sort of Glasgow, Belfast region, but not a million miles from me. I'm in northern England, so it's not a million miles. But anyway, loads of people saw it as a meteor. But the following day I checked, and it actually turned out to be space debris. I don't know which office it was. I don't think it's the meteorological office, but one of the official UK sort of things that watch the sky watching said it was some space debris that came down into the Atlantic over west of Ireland. So I was surprised I could see it, to be honest, from where I was. It must have been fairly high in the sky and sort of came down like that. But it burnt and then sort of disappeared. It was very bright, though. It was like I thought it was a helicopter initially at first, because it was so bright and at a fairly low angle. But anyway, so it was space debris. I don't know what particularly it was. I think there was some talk of a Chinese, something from the Chinese space agency that was coming down, so it could have been something like that, but I don't know specifically. But it's certainly it was certainly space debris. So there you go. So first sign of space debris. So it wasn't Richard's rocket that he was waiting to see launch.
Probably just as well, really. But
yeah.
It's interesting when you see something like that. I haven't seen anything else. I've seen the Starlink stuff go across occasionally. It's nothing like that. Interesting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and amazing how you can find out these things within sort of minutes now. Because years gone by, you would have just seen it and that's it, isn't it? No one else see it. But with Twitter, you can pretty much see straight away where the reaction to it.
Talk about meteors and space debris. Well, actually, things causing a commotion. I don't know if you saw last week, but Osprey, one of the charging networks, definitely put the cat amongst the pigeons when they announced that they are putting their prices up to £1 per kilowatt hour.
And what's that going up from?
That's going up from about 40 something pence per kilowatt hour. So it's almost a doubling. It's over 100% increase. And basically, this is because their spot price at the moment for electricity for them is around about 86p. They still need to make a profit to cover their infrastructure stuff. So don't blame me for that. But I think also it was a shot across the government's bow as well, sort of saying, look, if you don't do something, this is what the price is going to be, and nobody's going to want an electric car because they're going to want to, they're not going to be able to afford to charge it. I mean, still. There are ways of getting discounts on that. If you use the Bonnet app, you can still get quite a significant discount on that. Some of the car manufacturers have got the deals with them as well. So it's not necessarily what people will be going to be paying, but I noticed that Tesla have also just put their prices up, not quite that high, but sort of into the 80p kilowatt hours, and those are getting quite high figures. I mean, they're making, if you couldn't charge at home, then it as a base charge, then it does start to become equivalent of high mileage cars. But also you have to realise that this is the equivalent of charging at service stations for services for cars, and cars obviously you get charged an awful lot more for charging at services as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So compared to cars, but yeah, so I mean, it does throw those figures. If everybody went up to £1 per kilowatt hour, it throws those figures I was talking about last week out the window a little bit, because it would start to get quite expensive charging. But then again, I rarely charge anywhere away from home these days, because with the range I've got with my car, and with more and more cars coming up to that 300-mile mark, that's going to be less of an issue, less people charging. But yeah, definitely a worry. Let's hope something's sorted about it. But
yeah, and I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it, that every industry wants to get its rebates and discounts and caps and things in place, but it is a thing that the government or even society in general is actively promoting EVs, and to allow it to get price itself out, they've got to factor in the environmental targets and everything with that. And it's not just about cost; it's also there's targets and things that they've set for the switchover, isn't there?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we'll see what the budget brings. At the end of it goes.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I did see a lot of those charges around though. Now, I was out about last week when I was away. I was down in around Worcestershire and all around the Stratford and all around there, and there's so many charging places now, charging destinations. You can go. While you're there, you're going to visit a tourist attraction. There are charges there. There's a lot of places now where you can go other than the sort of the forecourt type ones.
Yeah, indeed, and that, actually, I think with the longer range cars, with the 300-mile cars and efficient battery packs, that's what we need more of. It's cheaper to put that in. It costs a lot less than trying to put really fast ultra chargers in. You don't need quite so much backbone or power. I think that's a lot better approach going forward. Anyway,
just any fans of Jeremy Clarkson? I actually found his farm when I was down in Chipping Norton. So it wasn't, the farm shop wasn't open, but I did stop outside and take a picture and carry on my way. So it's near Chipping Norton, and it was quite interesting to see his farm on there. So I didn't see him himself, but there you go. I didn't take a lot of technology with me when I was away for a week, but just did a bit of the family holiday thing. Well, I did do a bit of reading. I've been using my old Kindle, and I don't know how old this is now. This is a second gen one, so it's not a Paperwhite one, and it still works. It's amazing, really. It wasn't that dear to start with, and the only thing you can't do with it anymore is you can't buy books directly on it, since I think it was the start of September. But you can still buy them from Amazon's website or your phone, and then just get it delivered to here. So there's no issues with that. But yeah, amazing, isn't it? That and battery technology on that. I can't remember last time I charged it, but using it all the time. So this is something that's actually lasted longer than any of probably the tablets or PCs that I've had since I got that.
Yeah, no, I've got a pretty old one which I still use. It's
it's amazing. I kind of lost. I lost. I always say I should do some more reading, and I kind of stopped doing it. Too much surfing and not enough reading. But I recently got into reading some music autobiographies, and I kind of got addicted to those now. So I think I read the one that was the manager of the Pet Shop Boys one. I read all the 80s one. I read Midgeo's one, which was really great. I'm reading Martin Ware's one now from the Human League and Heaven 17. And I love all that music stuff. So very, very, very addictive. But great, I was impressed with the amount of pain of that. The only thing is that the cost of the books aren't cheap. I think we talked about that before. The Martin Ware one I bought was almost the same price as a physical book. So it wasn't for the convenience factor. I think I would have been better with the book, but I've got a bookshelf full of books, then I know where else to put them. So it does make it easier on a Kindle. But I can't think that from environmental reasons and delivery reasons, it should be considerably cheaper on a Kindle.
Yeah. Do you think with distribution costs and everything, that would be the case? But
yeah, it doesn't seem to be.
I suppose a lot of it's down to remaindering, the fact that you don't get remainders on Kindle books, so because they match the price on paper books to what bookshops are doing. Sometimes they reduce prices so they don't have to remainder books, and so it's usually books which aren't selling well get reduced in price, but they don't have that problem on Kindle, so they can just maintain the original list price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still. I'm still buying them though, and I suppose it's working in that respect. But yeah, and I found myself addicted to reading now, so I quite enjoy just get a bit of peace and quiet and read the music autobiography. I did like that. I do like doing that. And an update for you as well. I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but I did get my wife a Surface Laptop Go 2 for her birthday, and pleased to say she's very pleased with it. So. It's her first experience of Windows 11 as well, but she likes it. And actually, I'm always setting up devices and virtual machines and everything else, but it's interesting doing it for sort of from her point of view. We just unboxed the Surface, signed in with a Microsoft account, and sort of 20 minutes later, the desktop was all synced up. All the items were there, because it's using OneDrive for the desktop. So there's only really the only thing to install, and it was Office. And I think Office actually was installed. It just wasn't my Office 365 account. It was the basic Hotmail or whatever, the Microsoft account. So I just re-signed in and activated it with the Office 365 account. But apart from that, that was it. So she was really pleased with she thought she'd have to, remember all the passwords and favorites and desktop shortcuts She likes to use the desktop as a file storage system, which I don't really like. I like a clean desktop. She has files everywhere on this desktop, and when I say about it, she said, "Well, I know where they are," which is true. So I don't try and mess with them. But of course, with OneDrive, it just syncs it all through. So that worked really well. But it's a really nice device. I forgot it has Windows Hello, but it's in the power button rather than the camera. So it's fingerprint reader rather than the camera. Mm-hmm. Which took a bit of fiddling to get set up. Actually, it was move your finger to the left, move your finger to the right, move your finger more to the left, move your finger more to the left, move your finger more to the left. It did a lot of that, but the actual process was fairly simple. And yeah, it's a really nice feel and device to it. It's a little bit smaller than the one she was using was a Surface Pro 4. So it's a little bit physically smaller, but actually the screen isn't much different, and the keyboard is a lot nicer than using the type cover. So she's really pleased with that. So it's a really nice device. I really like it. One thing I did notice is the charger that comes with it is a low wattage charger, which is fine for the Surface Laptop Go. But when I was using my Surface and I put my Surface Laptop Studio into her charger for a bit because it was downstairs, and my Surface came up saying that it was a low power charger and you should use an approved, I think it's an approved Microsoft charger or something like that. I can't the exact wording, but yeah, I am using the Microsoft charger, just not the one for this device. The one that came with the Surface is a higher wattage one, which is fair enough. That's what it's for. But we usually just have one charger downstairs, and whoever needs it just uses it. But yeah, really nice device, nice out of box setup. The packaging, everything great. So it made a nice device. But the Surface Pro 4 has lasted a long while, so hopefully this will last the swim. In the end, it went with the screen flicker, so it's where the screen shudders and judders when it gets warm, and the warmer it gets, the worse it gets. And I couldn't bear to look at it flickering around anymore. So anyway, so she's very pleased with that. So that worked out well. And she should be able to put the new update on it, because it's here, isn't it? The 22H2 has arrived.
That's arrived, yes.
And actually, it's not. Oh, well, it's still called 22, but that's not actually the real name of it now. Microsoft have called it the Windows 11 22 22 update. So there's no H2 in it. Actually, I just spotted a typo on my blog post. Yeah, so there's
update.
Yeah. So there's no so they dropped dropping the 22H2 because although that's I think still the sort of the code name, and if you go into Windows Update and have a look at which version you've got, it'll say 22H2. But I suppose it makes sense because they're dropping the twice yearly update.
Well, we kind of all called this, didn't we? A couple of weeks back, we were sort of saying that we thought it would be, particularly Richard was saying, we thought it would be only one update a year, and it made sense to be called whatever the year was. So, yeah, makes total sense.
So Microsoft say it's rolling out in phases to Windows Update on Surface Laptop Studio. I did check for updates and it's given me a cumulative upgrade, but not the 22H2 or the 2022 update. But it could be once I've restarted for this update, then it will then offer it me. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm obviously not going to do that when I do the podcast. But they say they're doing it in phases like they normally do, so you can get it. You know, you might get offered it, you might not.
I haven't seen it on mine yet, but been checking.
Yeah, it's worth and it's definitely worth doing it. It's a really nice update. I've got an article with all the changes in that I've collated together. Some of them I've used them on my insider devices. I've sort of forgotten what they were, but you know I've got used to them. But like start menu folders, I think is really handy. So you can put them. So I've got like a Microsoft Office start menu folder, so you can drag like you can on your phone, sort of on Android anyway. You can drag the folders on icons onto each other, and then it will create a folder, and then you can name that folder. So I've got one for Office and one for entertainment apps and social apps and whatever. So it means that when you click on your start menu, you haven't got as many things to scroll through, or you can fit more on that pin section. So I tend to use the pin section more than going to all apps or whatever. So yeah, I find that quite handy. So that's definitely worth having it for. And also, if you do that, if you do like pinned apps, you can choose to have more pinned apps, or you can have more recommendations depending on which you prefer as well. So there's an option for that, and also some gestures on that as well, isn't there? So you can use swipe left to bring the start. The all apps list, and swipe right to bring the pin one, and you can swipe up with your finger from the taskbar at the bottom to bring up the start menu as well. So I think those improvements are really nice. But because this update's been around for so long for the Insider Probe, you kind of almost you just get used to them, don't you?
I do, yeah.
And there were some other nice things, some visual fixes, like the volume flyout now looks like Windows 11 rather than Windows 8. So it's a banner goes left to right at the bottom, it's curved rather than the one that appears on the screen now, which is the old Windows 8 style one. There's some nice things in File Explorer for grouping things together, and OneDrive integration, and some taskbar improvements as well. I think one of the big changes is the Task Manager. So there's a modernized version of Task Manager. So on Windows 11, the release version, you've got the same one was in Windows 10. In Windows 11, it's had a bit of a UI improvement, and it started off really clunky, and over the time they developed that, and it actually looks a lot better now. So, and it's got dark mode as well. I know people are big fans of dark mode. And there's some other things like efficiency mode on an application. I think one of the things that I liked as well is the accessibility control, which is something we saw when we went to the Microsoft event in London earlier this year. I think that's a really important one. You can control the whole of Windows, can't you, with the voice now? It was a really good demo of that.
Yeah, indeed. Really, and that was we've seen this demo. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah. So you can control, not only can you control the applications, but you can control the mouse, you can control the inputs. You can select different parts of the screen. I actually have recorded a separate video of that as well. So you can see that on my YouTube channel as well. So it's well worth watching because it's a really good feature. The accessibility is really good in that. Also, they've added live captions as well, haven't they? So that if you can be watching a video or a live stream or something like that, and it'll give you the closed captions on that as well, which is nice. So it doesn't require the pre-process or anything like that. It just picks from the sound card. So you could be watching a live stream of something and get the subtitles from it, or a YouTube video. And there's some other things like searches improved. You do need a Microsoft account as well to do the initial setup now, I think, on the Home edition. I'm not sure about professional. I'm sure you don't, because you need to be able to set that with your domain or whatever. But on the Home edition, you definitely do need a Microsoft account. There may be some workarounds that way, taking it offline and that kind of thing, but you do need. In fact, when I was setting that new Surface Laptop Go up, the way that people use home ones now is, I don't know why you wouldn't have a Microsoft account really if you're installing Windows in nowadays, unless you've got a domain or you're using some Azure kind of identity manager. If you're just a home user, there's really no reason not to have a Microsoft account now.
Yeah, although there's still some people who really don't want one. Sure.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you'd have to go for the professional version then and pay for that privilege.
You probably would, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it is a nice update. It's worth it for the start menu changes. I think. The one thing I didn't mention, I think I put it on here. I did have it on my article, is the drag and drop in the taskbar. So task manager. So you can now taskbar at the bottom. So you can now drag icons. So if you drag a photo onto the Paint application, it puts it into the Paint, whereas on the original version you could do any drag and drop with the taskbar at the bottom. So I know a lot of people like that as well. And there's a couple of little things for media fans as well, like File Explorer will directly connect to a media server now, so you can stream media directly in File Explorer. So it's a good update. It's worth doing as ever. These updates always are. You don't have to get it straight away. Even if you're offered it through Windows Update, you don't have to accept it. You can wait. There's no rush for it, really. It's not, but it has been tested. I don't know how long. I think that I recorded my initial sort of walkthrough video in May or June this year. So it's been, and there hasn't been any new features added since I recorded that video. So it has been in test for quite a long time. On the beta channel, they are actually swapping in and out features. So on my beta machine, I've got tabbed File Explorer, but that's not including in this update. But it could be out later this year or next year when then Microsoft decide to switch on that feature where it doesn't require a full build for that. So yeah, it's a nice update, and I'm looking forward to getting it onto my laptop, mainly for the start menu improvements and the taskbar improvements. I think it's well worth doing.
Yeah, definitely is.
And yeah, it's through Windows Update. What I wasn't sure about is if the ISO, the Upgrade Assistant tool or the media, what they actually, the build that they're on. So in the Windows 10 days, you could use the Windows 11 or the Windows 10 Upgrade Assistant, couldn't you, to go to the current 20 whatever it was, 20 Creators Update or whatever version it was. I'm not sure that's still the case with Windows 11, or whether the media that you get is the sort of the launch media, and then you just get whichever version's available. At some point, I would imagine they'll update the media so that includes this update, which I think is what they did with Windows, even the last few Windows 10 updates. But we'll see on that. Oh, by the way, as well, if you've got Windows 10 and you want to go straight to this, you can do, if your device is Windows 11 compliant or compatible, which I know is one of Richard's favourite little things he gets upset about. But So if you've got a device that supports Windows 11, then you can go straight to this one from Windows 10. You'll see it as offered you in the update. But I wouldn't be surprised if you do that at the moment. You'll just get the launch version of Windows 11 because your device might not have been approved yet. And we'll see when, like this Surface laptop that I've got, Laptop Studio, hasn't got the update offered yet. So yeah, your mileage may vary, as they say. And if you're going a bit further advanced, you can, if you're on the dev channel, Microsoft are up in the 252 range now, aren't they, with the build? So 25201 was released last week for Windows Insiders on the dev channel. There's not a huge amount of changes actually between this, apart from the tab browsing. That's in there. This build didn't have a lot of new features in it. There were some UI tweaks, and I still haven't got the tablet optimized taskbar on my Surface Go, my old Surface Go. That feature hasn't been switched on yet, so it's on the dev channel, but it hasn't been enabled yet because they said they're testing out a small group of insiders, so that doesn't include my device. I'm trying to think what was in last week's build, and I can't remember. There wasn't really that much in it. They were merely fixes at the moment and sort of minor changes. Oh, widgets. That's it. Widgets are full screen now. So on the launch version of Windows 11 and the 2022 update, widgets only go down the left-hand side. But in this update that's been under tested now, there's an option to make the widgets full screen, so you can see more of them in there. And I think Game Pass was updated as well. So the Game Pass widget was updated. But on my devices, none of the devices have picked up that that button to go full screen yet. So again, we're at the sort of this A/B testing that Microsoft like to do, or this very small subset of users they want to test things with. So I couldn't test it yet, but hopefully that'll start to roll out and I'll get it onto some of my other devices. And I think, did I hear right? There's a Surface or a Microsoft event in October.
Yes, I've heard rumours of that.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then we might see some new devices. I'm guessing we'll get the Surface Pro 9, it would be. And the rumours are that there'll be a ARM version. So rather than it being a Surface Pro X, it'll just be the Surface Pro 9. You can probably choose between the Intel, AMD, or ARM processors. There might be an update for the Surface Go as well. I am thinking my old Surface Go, the original one, it's had its day now, so I do want to get a little small tablet. So I think I'll see, interested if they get those. I would really like to try Surface Go with an ARM processor, so a small, small form factor device, same size as the Surface Go I've got now, but with the ARM processor, it gives you a bit more battery length. That would be good. And we'll see what other devices. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. So maybe next month we'll see an event and that we'll see some new Surface devices.
Yeah, it's about time, actually.
Yeah, it would be time for the Christmas market, and that's all that they always like to do. I must have to say my Surface Laptop Studio is working great though. Really good device. It's so nice to have, because I got it with the extra RAM. So nice to have be able to fire up Hyper-Vs without having to close everything down each time as well. So that's proving very useful. So it's great for doing the videos. And my old Surface laptop, which had Hyper-V, I used to struggle with that. So yeah, I'm enjoying my Surface Laptop Studio. Any other new devices that you've picked up recently?
No, I mean, obviously mentioned the Mini 3 drone on the show the other day.
Oh yeah, how's that going?
That's going really well, actually. I'm really impressed with it. The software updates they keep pushing out that were really good. I had to keep adding new features to it. It's just had a new one which allows it to effectively do a 3D panorama. It was it was incredibly difficult to do before on most drones because of the fact that the vision is restricted in certain directions by motors and other. But the one thing that the Mini 3 has got, which I didn't mention last time, is it's got the ability to do vertical photographs or videos. So it can do portrait as well as landscape. So it can rotate the lens completely, which means it can actually rotate in more directions, which allows it, with a bit of jiggery-pokery of how it flies, to construct a full 3D image, which can then be used in any of the sort of 3D viewers. So yeah, really quite clever. And that's just a software update they threw in a couple of weeks back on it. So it's lots of nice features. Finally got to use the hyperlapse feature the other day. That's quite fun. To show a group of people arriving at a destination and just hovered it up in the sky. I did do nothing with it and just left it flying for as long as the battery would fly, which was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's great. Actually, when I was down in the Cotswolds and I was at this really nice castle and stately home, and I thought it would be great to have a drone. That was such a good location to be able to. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that.
The problem is that most of these properties are actually not allowed to fly in the ground. Although there is a got to get out for that. If you can fly anywhere near them, of course, you can actually usually take some pretty good shots anyway, as long as they're not actually flying in their grounds. And most of these cameras got pretty good zoom lenses on them as well. So yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah,
no, I'm totally enjoying it. It works really, really well. You get great footage.
Yeah, I think that's really nice. I love those shots you get now. You see them in every TV show, but they still always look great on them now. You watch some detective thing, and they've always got some great drone shots on that.
Yeah. Well, as I said the other week, I think I created the starter picture for a new detective series with my first set of shots. But
yeah, when I was away, I was just thinking that it would have been really nice to have. This is where I would find a good use for one, because it's beautiful countryside. It's open. There's big fields. There's public spaces. You could really get some nice shots of that. But yeah, but I thought these stately homes would be great if. Yeah, but I guess I suppose you could always ask for permission and those kind of things. But yeah, I suppose they protect their rights because they probably want to sell those images themselves or use them themselves.
Well, I've got actually one more gadget. I got sent a Taskbar Fi, CARSI, which is a wireless Android Auto adapter. So this is one of the few. I think I've tried the Android Auto, the AA one, which is very good. I've tried Pair, which wasn't quite so good, a bit lagging. I've tried a couple of other the Carlink AI box, which also does Apple iTunes, Apple CarPlay as well, which is useful. It does both, and does a little bit more, but is a bit more tricky to set up. And they've just sent me this Classify one, so which seems to be the easiest one to get hold of, actually, if you want to get hold of a wireless Android Auto adapter. I haven't tried it yet, but from all accounts, it works extremely well. So yeah, it's
actually there was
available.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that is really handy, that, because the Android Auto is so good, isn't it? You've got that flexibility to be able to use that. I think it's definitely something that's really handy if you've got an older car that you obviously don't want to buy a new car just to get Android Auto working.
Yeah, and they're doing free UK shipping at the moment, and it's $89. So, and there is actually a discount available on their site at the moment as well. But yeah, so which is actually cheaper than most of the others. The only one I haven't been able to get hold of at the moment is the Motorola one. I'm trying to do sort of group tests and do a video on all the comparison and looking at all the lag, because some of these are quite laggy in terms of how they so particularly the pair one was really laggy when I tried initially. They've done a slight update to it, which has speeded up a little bit, but it definitely feels more laggy than the others. And as it's the most expensive of the three boxes, I think that's three pure Android Auto boxes. Yeah, that's a bit of a worry. But so far the AA wireless one is the one winning, but I will try out this Classify one and I shall report that.
And I've got something else I've just been trying as well. Is a USB-C microphone for use for your Teams calls. So actually, I could I'll switch in a sec to using that. But let me switch now where I'm talking. But the idea of this one, it's a 360 device. So rather than it being directional, the idea being that you can stick this. Has it come up on my list of devices? No, it hasn't. so I can't switch to it. But I have got a video that's coming out soon. You can hear it on there. But the idea of this, it's really solid. Actually, it's metal. It's about 40 quid. You put it down the room like on the desk like this, and if you're doing a Teams call, maybe you're in a meeting room, or you're doing a podcast, roundtable podcast, something like that. You stick that in the middle of the room, and you don't have to use, you're not using a directional microphone, so it picks everybody up equally. And I found actually it's got pretty good pickup. So rather than getting every person turning the microphone around if you've got a directional mic, or worrying about headsets or anything like that, you just stick this in the middle. It's got USB-C. It comes with this nice braided cable actually as well, which is pretty good. And it's got some usual things like mute, which has got a coloured light on it there. There's no speaker on it, but there is a headphone output. So if you want to plug your headphones in, you can do. But that's not really the use case. Use case is more of a mic in the for round table meeting type things. It's got volume control and a mute for the headphone as well, incidentally, if you want that. But actually, it's really well there because it's metal, so it's quite solid. It sits on the table, and you can leave it there, and you can make it. You can use it. So I've recorded a video, so to give ideas of what the sound quality is like for it. It's not as good. If I was using it now, it's not as good as using a headset mic like this, because that's designed for this conversation now. But if you want to just, I know why it's not working, because I just plugged it into my Surface dock. I'm not plugged into the Surface dock. But yeah, maybe I'll plug it in next week. But yeah, it works really well. So a good little device for sort of those scenarios where you're doing meetings or recordings with a group of people and everybody needs equal volume. So that's what I've been playing with this week as well. So I think you're just on mute there, Gary.
You see that? Now, if I had one of those 360 microphones, I wouldn't have been on mute.
Yeah. Yeah.
You notice that sometimes. Teams seems, I don't know if they're experimenting with something, because I'm on a slightly experimental build of Teams, but I wonder if they're experimenting with auto mute at the moment. So I've noticed that when I don't speak for some time, the microphone seems to go on to mute, but I haven't actually clicked the mute button.
Yeah, I don't know if I had that, but I've accidentally caught the mute, because this one has got a little mute.
Yeah,
unmute thing, and you can catch it, and you'll be talking away and not realise.
Yeah.
Although it does give you an audio notification to say, yeah, you're muted, unmuted. It's still one of my favourite things, even after whatever 2-3 years of being on Teams. Almost every meeting, somebody's on mute, aren't they, while they're trying to talk. I've done it myself. It's not just it happens to everyone, or at least somebody during every call. I think I go on every day. You're on mute, like that, like now.
Yeah, again, I hadn't clicked the mute button.
Oh yeah. So something's auto muting you. Maybe it's when we're using the word. It's got some kind of recognition in it. Yeah.
Oh, weird, anyway.
Yeah. So I think that's just about everything we've got for this week. And hopefully Rich's not still waiting for his launch, by the way. He's in a different thing for a different meeting, I think, this week, isn't he?
Yeah, although maybe back for his launch next week. We never know.
Yeah, I think he's waiting, isn't he, in case he might get the call to go back again from what he said last week. But yeah, did enjoy that chat last week. So I'm going to go and see if I can do a reboot now and get to the Windows 11 2022 update installed, not formerly known as 22H2. I'm going to still call it that for a while, I'm sure. I'll see if I get that installed on my Surface now. And Will should be back same time, same place next week. You can get me on Twitter at ISDixon. Gary, where can we find you?
As usual, Twitter at Gary 2Rs WMA.
And I've probably got another track a new track. So if I have, I'll play one out now, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.